Welcome to Focus on Driving Agriculture Transformation. Now, Africa's agriculture sector is ripe for change. With the right strategies and partnerships, the continent can unlock its full potential, boost food security, and drive economic growth. From native farming practices to policy reforms, we now explore the key drivers of agriculture transformation. Join us as we dive into the successes, challenges, and opportunities shaping the future of African agriculture. It's a pleasure to have you on this panel discussion, Governor Omar and Madam Sophia. And of course, we know the youth, much of the people that play a big number to the development of the country. Agriculture also itself being a key player of the economy, especially in Nigeria. What's your take?
At the national level, Mr. President has an agenda that we call Renew Hope agenda. And part of the Renew Hope agenda is the food security. Now, this issue of food security in the president's agenda has been domesticated by almost all the 36 nationals and the Federal Capital Territory. So that is to tell you that there is a policy agreement between both the national and the subnational in Nigeria. So all the states in Nigeria have domesticated the issue of food security as part of their agenda.
I think, Governor, after the interview, I should be joining you in Nigeria to get a plot of land and be able to start agriculture. Just before I cross into the private sector and how the government can indulge with the private sector, I'll bring in Madam Sophia to draw some insights on that, on what investments are we seeing from Nigeria that can partake in the agriculture sector.
Our aim is really to work with governments that we feel are committed to be able to replicate those models. And the commitment of the governments is not only seen through the clarity in the visions and the mandate, but it's also seen in the very strong political will and political backing. So when we support them, what do? We actually help them design delivery mechanism, either agriculture transformation offices or delivery units that help them drive a clear transformation agenda. See, agricultural transformation is very complex, and depending on who you ask, they will tell you which investment is required. Depending on the countries and depending on the agroecological regions, they will tell you investment should be in seeds, it should be in access to finance, it should be in infrastructure, it should be in soil health, it should be in early warnings, or it should be bringing youth in. If you ask my perspective, I would say investment should be in efficiencies in the government first. Because no matter the scale of funding that you bring in, if you apply it within an environment that does not have the efficiencies you're looking for, then you're not going to have the results, or you will wait a lot longer to have them. And by that time, problems could be compounded. So in terms of the clear efficiency, it would be really to structure government mechanism, essentially delivery mechanism that help drive a clear transformation agenda. And we have seen this in Tanzania, we've seen it in Sierra Leone, and today also in Nigeria. Through that process, we've established an agricultural transformation office in Tanzania that is looking at 20 commodities, but prioritizing to understand what is the most catalytic. As I said, the scale is large. The things that need to be done are numerous. What is really important is that one establishes not only the priorities, but understand what is the most catalytic investment. So with that, I feel that the most catalytic would be investing in delivery mechanism, then bringing in a financing and the support that supports that transformation agenda.
Are we having, in terms of seedlings, away from the fundings, in terms of giving seedlings to the youth or the farmers, young farmers, to begin on that? Any point on that?
Yeah, those are within the implementation aspect, and the state leads those very engagement with the youth as well. And that's one of the interventions. I remember when I said it's a complex one. So some of the flagships that we would design within a transformation agenda could be about how to empower youth and women in agriculture. And how would we do that? Within the agriculture scheme, you know, agriculture does not work in a vacuum. It has things before and after it. So, and ex ante and ex post facto as well. So upstream of it, you have the seeds, you have the access to finance, and so, and downstream of it, you have the infrastructure, you have access to market and trade and transformation. But it also operates within an ecosystem of digital transformation as well as early warnings for climate. So in terms of specific actions that could be done, you would be looking at countries differently. So Sierra Leone is a very fertile land where they are trying to drive the rice production agenda and through a very specific proposal. While in Nigeria, we're looking at rice, maize, wheat, in the case of Jigawa, primarily, where we're supporting the government of Jigawa State to drive their wheat strategy.
Governor, let me bring you in on a certain issue on how you, as the government, you're trying to work with the private sector, which is a key player in this state because it contributes about 80% of the entire economy. Any ways you are sitting in to have talks with the private sector? Are we having the private sector key players in?
Yeah, we have. You see, the private sector needs an enabling environment because they need to see where they can operate and make income out of that. So one thing is that we must create an enabling environment that will attract the private sector. Let me tell you, Jigawa State is number 2 in ease of doing business in Nigeria. So for the second time, it has been number 2 in the ease of doing business in Nigeria. So the environment is ripe for private sector operation. So as at today, let me tell you, the government, in our effort to bring in a private sector, we have our robust PPP arrangement. Okay, PPP arrangement that allows the private sector to come and partner with the government so as to invest. Again, we have also our robust, what we call our robust outgrower scheme arrangement. Outgrower scheme is in the sense that you are an investor, whether in a rice value chain or in a wheat value chain, whatever crop value chain you are. You want to invest in Jigawa State and you need to do a backward integration by producing the raw materials, getting them and process them. Because what we also insist is not that you can take our raw material like that and go with it. No, process it and value it. And so because of that, we have a robust outgrower scheme. And that outgrower scheme protects both the investor and the farmer so that everybody will be treated fairly and equitably. That has also now again, as part of our effort to engage a private sector, we now have a collaboration with the Bank of Industry in Jigawa State. The Bank of Industry is a national bank, but what we did, we attracted the bank to come and open an office in Jigawa State. One, it will be easier for our small and medium-scale enterprises to strive because they will have a means of finance. And also our farmers, because Bank of Industry normally is involved in processing machineries and all this. But what we did when we brought in the Bank of Industry, we said, okay, look, farming is our main business here. We will give you fund. We have agreed with them that we will have a full of fund of 6 billion naira. 6 billion, invariably about $4 million. Okay? About $4 million. So that money we are going to have, we will provide 2 billion matching fund. The bank will also provide another 2 million matching fund. That will make it 4 billion. Okay? And then the state also will provide another 2 billion as managed fund. This managed fund is a money that we are giving the bank and we will dictate what they will do with it. And also we told them that, look, out of the 4 billion we gave you, we don't want any interest. So the interest now any lender will pay on any money he will access through this funding is 5%, single digit.
I would love to draw again your insights on how the local government is creating an enabling environment. The governor spoke of course, giving vast land. Of course, now this comes with a lot of education, a lot of machinery in it. What's your view on that?
The environment that a local government can create is a lot more lenient and agile compared to the national and federal one, because policies and land ownership and right to use are all at the local government level. So there you have a very good concentration of opportunities and ability to make change and drive the change. So looking at not only as His Excellency the Governor has described in terms of the incentive that they're giving to the private sector, but being able to have tax incentive, very clear regulatory programs and frameworks that allow the private sector to come in within an environment that is also very much state-led, because the state implementation is closer to the smallholder farmers. It's a very much larger community-led engagement. So it takes also into account the interest of the community. It drives the improvement in the community and the wealth creation within the community. So private sector entities that are brought in terms of investment end up benefiting a larger community, but within a much better controlled and engagement.
When we look at the environment, it comes with a lot of disasters, let's say the climate change. We are looking at the pest diseases, because this land that we are speaking of, probably when you remove the rice, you can't put the beans. What are you doing in that format?
So in the agricultural transformation offices that we set up, we make it a point to co-design a climate-smart agriculture hub in it as a way of driving two very important aspects. One is coordination in policies for agriculture. In general, you have a Minister of Environment who looks after climate change, and you have a Minister of Agriculture who looks after agriculture. Today, climate is the biggest threat to agriculture and its production. So we need to be able to align those policies. So in that transformation office, someone will have the responsibility of aligning it and sitting with the various stakeholders, including communities, to support that. That's the first aspect on policy coherence and coordination. The second one is very much on implementation. So what technologies can be brought in for early warning, for soil health that needs to be looked at, but most importantly, to bring in climate resistant crops. Understanding from that perspective that we are in a situation that we're no longer 2 decades ago. Our soils, our earth has considerably changed. We're now in an adaptation. There are things that we can do to adapt to the climate change while we are getting ready to rebuild the soil health that we want.
Any additional points that you'd love to add on what she said?
Yeah, like you said, you see, the issue of climate is quite a serious matter. It is a serious threat to agriculture, because now, let me give you an example for my state. Now, the major threat we are having is the issue of flooding. The flooding has become a phenomenon in our state. And we are trying as much as possible in collaboration with the central government to ensure that we have done a lot of embankment, to ensure that all the flood-prone areas are taken care of. Because one, the flood is not only taking away what the farmers has cultivated, but also is taking away the farms that are supposed to be used for farming.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you at our studios here to get your insights on the dose of description in the agriculture sector. Thank you.